This doesn't mean I'm back to a consistent schedule. Hey, it's me. It's your girl who's on a YouTube break. No, but for real, my last uploaded video was about dissociated, and in that video I said that I was taking a break from YouTube and I'm still not fully back. But there was a new upload from a YouTuber that I quite enjoy. She's called Ready to Glare, who is a pretty large commentary channel that I enjoy and I fully suggest checking out. She uploaded a video about another YouTube creator named Kristen Leanne. Now, if you don't know who Kristen Leanne is, in a nutshell, she's a beauty influencer on YouTube and Instagram, and seems to be, she used to have a Twitter, but I can't find it, so it seems to be gone. Wonder why. Anyway, before I get too far into this video, I want to shout out a creator who has helped me a lot with this video, and they are called Not Another Drama Channel. They made a video reporting on Kristen's behavior a few years ago and brought me some receipts and information I needed, so thank you to Not Another Drama Channel. I'll have them linked at the end and in the description, of course, so go check them out. I also talked with someone who is Blackfeet, and she answered questions I had that helped me form some points in this video, so go follow her Twitter. It is Mariah Gladstone. Her Twitter will be linked in the description. And a couple more disclaimers. I did do some research on this girl, Kristen Leanne, before writing this script, and filming this video. And some of that research involved scrolling down her Instagram page. So if you think that that is a weird stalker thing to do, go wild, think that. But I wanted to do as much research as I could, and I needed confirmation on a few things. And I needed to scroll her Insta page to do that. So, in addition, I found some shit while scrolling. So, we're going to get into that. Next disclaimer, similar to the dissociated video, if you haven't seen it, I'm going to let you know right now. I have my laptop in front of me. I wrote a script, and to help me verbalize my points, yada, 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 I'm going to be reading. So, if you're seeing me, like, looking away, that's why. I don't apologize for the half-assedness, because I'm not a professional. I have 3,000 subs. So anyway, let's get started. So again, as stated before, Ready to Glare released a video talking about the mess that is Kristen Leanne, touching on her history of offenses as well as her most recent one, which, if you're curious, the recent event was laid off employees from her brand Arctic Fox. Yes, that Arctic Fox, the hair dye brand, coming out with their stories of working for Kristen. These stories involve homophobia and Kristen's repeated use of homophobic slurs. I'll have Ready to Glare's video linked so you can go watch that. And actually, after writing this portion of the script, I do admit I forgot to fix this. It was brought to my attention that she doesn't actually own the brand, but she is like a higher up of the brand. So there's that. You may have also heard of Kristen being under fire for using racial slurs, singing the N-word, having a literal tattoo of a can of beans, signifying her friendship with someone who is Mexican, as well as straight up admitting, like saying, dead ass, that she actually called her friend, her Mexican friend, that word all the time. No, I'm not going to say that word. Other offenses are allegedly abusing her animals, although I don't know a whole lot about that scandal. And not only complaining that a brand didn't release highlighter shades light enough for her, but actually doubling down when people told her why that was a hot take. Many videos have been made about these instances, but there aren't many that talk about her anti-Indigenous actions. Not Another Drama Channel reported on it years ago, but I haven't seen anyone else do it, And when I did numerous Google searches using numerous terms to find anything about her appropriation, hardly anything came up, except for a few Reddit threads and an article of her being discriminated against at a restaurant or something for her neck tattoo. Funny how she understands discrimination when it comes to her tattoo that she put on her body, but she doesn't understand it anywhere else, like for people who don't have a choice but to survive where society placed them, if you get what I mean. Anyways, I felt that, not only because she's relevant again, but also because there's a lack of information out there about these things, and there's no native YouTubers with videos on her. So I thought that I should crawl out of hiding just long enough to annoy everyone who subbed to me for tutorials. So I can remind everyone that there's another reason Kristen Leanne is more than just problematic. She's a little racist and a fraud. There seems to be multiple layers to this problem between her and natives. The first visible layer was when her photos posing with a Party City headdress resurfaced. These photos are from 2012, or at least they were posted to her Instagram in 2012. I'm not sure when they resurfaced, and she caught backlash for them, but here's why this is more than merely a bringing up old tweets type of situation. First of all, none of these photos, let me say that again. First of all, one of these photos, one of the headdress photos, is still on her Instagram. And I just wanted to get this fact out right away in case she apologized ever, which I never seen an apology. I've only ever known her to have doubled down about it, but still having the photo posted is a clear indication that she's not apologetic about it at all. Second, her lack of accountability for it is because she's been claiming native ancestry for years now. Now, if you're native, you know. If you're not native, you might not be aware of this out of control issue of white Americans either outright lying about having indigenous ancestry, or they genuinely believe they have ancestry when they don't, or their ancestry is so far down their line of descendancy that there's nothing about them that makes them indigenous. No matter which category these people fall under, we like to call them pretendians because they're pretend Indians. They're playing pretend. Now, I will say here, because I know these questions are going to pop up about other people you know, about yourselves, and about Kristen, what is indigeneity then? I've talked about what indigeneity is in my video about Cody Rants, which will be linked, but I want to note that I've slightly changed my mind about a few things in that video, and I wish I would have talked about a few things a little differently or gone into more detail for a few other things. Either way, while Indigenous American is indeed a racial group, you can also think of it as an ethnicity as well. And we tend to sort of classify our types of indigeneity, types for lack of better words. And I'm not talking about blood quantum. I'm talking about whether one is connected, disconnected, or reconnecting. And this is because of several issues from colonization, genocide, cultural genocide, the brainwashing of natives to make them strive to be as white as they can be, the termination of federally recognized tribes, which then led to the encouragement of natives to move to urban areas, the 60s scoop, which hasn't ended. If you're not familiar with that, it's basically native children are overwhelmingly taken away from their parents and adopted out to non-native families. And of course, the sexual assault of native women, which stems back hundreds and hundreds of years and is, I'm sorry to say, most likely why some of you have a native grandmother far, far back. I'm not fully going to get into what indigeneity is because that would make this video so long, like too long. But I think perhaps maybe I'll do a video essay on that later on. But this is relevant here because one of the things Kristen said when called out for posing with a headdress is that she's Native. She also used being Native as an excuse when called out for having the can of beans tattoo, which still isn't her place to use that slur, even if she is Native, because the tribe that she claimed to be from is Blackfeet. They don't get called that word. She's also specified that she is a quarter Blackfeet, and I'll be touching more on that in a bit, but let me say, I have several issues here. First, if I did some racist shit and someone said to me, yo, that's racist, I don't get to say, no, it's okay. I'm Native and I have family that is whatever. And this goes to more than just pretendians. This also goes for people who actually are Native. Being non-white does not mean you can do racist shit to other races. That makes you racist. Second, Kristen is not the first to do this. There is a theme of pretendians only bringing up them supposedly being Native when it's to get them out of something, to give them an aesthetic, or to exotify themselves to seem more interesting, which she also has a past of doing that. Not only with the headdress photos, but I found a blog post from 2011 where she calls herself, quote unquote, Swedish, German, and Blackfoot Indian. She has in fact stated many, many times that she is a quarter, 1/4 Blackfoot Indian. Always Blackfoot Indian. But again, she only brings it up when it's time to defend herself for doing something heinous, whether she's defending herself after the fact or she's preemptively clearing a path for her to be heinous, or to earn herself cool brownie points to be like, I'm actually not white, you guys. I'm not saying that all natives are activists, or that if you are Native that you have to be an activist or heavily involved in your culture with your people, but it is concerning that the only indicators of her indigeneity is just her saying it. I searched her name with some well-known battles that the majority of Native communities have talked about. Like, pretty much if you're Native, you know about these things and you've talked about them at least once. But nothing comes up with her name in DAPL, DAPL, or MMIW, which I'm going to bring that one up again too. But like, when you're Native all the time. When it's awesome being Native, and when it's a struggle because you're Native. When it's your interests or even your humor. I don't know. I get that not all Natives are fully in the culture, so the way they interact with the world isn't the same as those of us who are, but that just furthers my point that even with descendancy, her ties to indigeneity are not strong enough for her to say, I do this because I'm Native. I don't see you doing or saying things that are Native culture, Kristen. And no, I don't mean the spiritual aspect of culture. I mean the broad definition of culture. How you think, how you interact, how you joke, what is normal to you, what is abnormal. I don't see you doing any of that, Kristen. So you act consistent with white American culture 99% of the time, but when you're in trouble or when you want to appropriate, suddenly it's, but I'm Native. Which, you being Native is a big question anyways, because, well, you clearly know your family. Where's your Blackfeet family? Why aren't you ever in Montana? Do you know anything about your culture? I already know the answer to that. And it's a big no. And I know this because of the headdress thing and the teepee thing. The headdress was clearly some trashy party city shit she had on her head, and she was posing with it. I've talked several times before how hypersexualization of Native women is a problem. Basically, it leads to Native women being objectified by non-Native men who then, because they don't view us as human or as worthy of being more than a piece of meat to overpower, massively abduct and assault Native women. A crisis called Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. And here she is, posing seductively in this headdress. And Kristen, your Black feet are hella impacted by MMIW. Shouldn't you, Miss a quarter Blackfeet princess, know how Blackfeet women and girls have been dealing with this epidemic? All the man camps in Montana? I mean, you seem to know enough about how people regard natives, right? Since you decided to use this picture of a Native woman to degrade her, to which someone, I don't know your relation to, decided to comment #squaw hoe train. Squaw is a completely disgusting racial slur aimed towards Native women, which basically means a dirty Native whore. That's what it means. And that comment's still there. You ain't deleted. And I don't know who that other verified mark is, but she sure likes to mock a Native woman's appearance too, hey? Now, I'll admit, this woman is not exactly a MAC makeup artist, but I do think that there's something deeper here when you choose a visibly indigenous person to mock when there's plenty of photos of white women with bad makeup. Which, again, let's mock innocent women for no fucking reason, but no, you decided to mock a brown woman. Okay. This is an old post, but it seems to be consistent with your pattern. In the words of Amanda Beebe, it's a pattern of behavior. Back to the Party City headdress thing. What legitimate Native is actually going to disrespect their culture like that? I mean, again, we're not a monolith. There are Natives out there who either aren't informed or they're shitty humans that don't care, but in her case, it's okay to pose in this headdress because she's a quarter Blackfeet. But Kristen, if you're a quarter Blackfeet and you're going to do what you do because you're so Native, then you must know what a disgrace and dishonorable thing posing in that headdress is, right? Of course not. Headdresses, while worn by both men and women in the Blackfeet Nation, have to be earned. You're wearing stolen valor. You like Trump, allegedly. And you've posed with the American flag, I don't know how many times, but based off of those facts alone, I'm assuming you're one of those respect the troops types. But you can't even respect the warriors from the tribe that you claim to be a part of. Not only that, but that was a gaudy ass headdress. Real earned headdresses are made with real feathers from sacred birds. So to wrap up the headdress thing, you're hypersexualizing Native women during an epidemic, you're stealing valor, and you're mocking your own people while doing it. You're too Native to have real regalia, right? Just fake shit. And it wasn't only the headdress. Your ass appropriated teepees too, which is, again, another highly appropriated thing that's up there with the headdress and the dream catcher, which at this point I wouldn't be surprised if you have plenty of those because you're so Blackfeet. Who's gonna tell her that dream catchers are Ojibwe? Anyway, teepees are mostly known to non-natives as homes to natives back in the day. Now my peeps, the Ojibwe, we didn't live in teepees. We may have propped them up as a temporary camp every now and then, but the Blackfeet, who Kristen claimed to be a part of, they still regard teepees as sacred. See, not just for Blackfeet, but I think for most Native communities, mine included, there are lodges for home, and there are sacred lodges. Blackfeet regard teepees as sacred. So you'd think Miss a quarter Blackfeet would know not to prop one up wherever this is and go and do important adult stuff you do in teepees. Emphasis on how she spelled teepee, by the way. I also noticed she used to sell clothes, I guess, and there's these shorts that have tribal designs on them. She obviously never had to answer for these, but I think you know what her response would be to that, right? Let's not forget another infamous tattoo she has. Her Blackfeet Indian. Oh, I'm sorry, she quoted it, her Blackfoot Indian. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt that she legitimately thought she was Native at the time of getting it, and that's why she got the tattoo, but I don't know. It's just the way she talks about it. It's just cringy. And again, she clearly tries really hard to win them I'm not white points. She's Indian, not Native American. Now, I'll admit that I've called myself Indian and other natives have done so too, but it's mostly done for two reasons. The first, which is what I fall under, is we're being ironic, like dark humor. The second is older generations use that term for a variety of reasons that basically had to do with how they were conditioned to think of themselves and what societal norms they grew up with. My generation ain't grew up with that shit. Indians became derogatory by the time I came around, derogatory and cringy to us, and basically are only used ironically or because they're in important names that were created decades before, like the American Indian movement or Bay Mills Indian community. Kristen, who is a whopping 2 years older than me, is not only dead ass she's an Indian, but she cussed someone out in her comments that it, quote unquote, isn't called Blackfoot Native American. So there. So natives aren't Native Americans. We're Indians. And she's going to get all up in arms about whether to refer to her as an Indian or Native American and claim that she wore the headdress and can get away with doing racist shit because she's Native. She's able to get past the gatekeeper because she qualifies. But do festival makeup tutorials inviting people to do so obviously tribal looks with tribal markings that are, again, significant to some tribes. And it's safe to say it is, or at least should be, pretty well known that the festival aesthetic, the boho aesthetic, is the ripoff and mixture of indigenous cultures from around the world, not just indigenous North American. But my point here is, you don't make sense, Kristen. You can do these things because you're Native American. Oop, wait, no, I'm sorry. Because you're Indian. But you're inviting your white non-native audience to create these looks that are obviously tribally themed. So, do you think you need to be native to do these things or not? Because it sounds like you think culture is up for grabs, but you want to throw that quarter Blackfeet out there to try to save your ass from having to answer for it. Which, I think I'm right about that, because in your Trends I Hate video, you talk a lot about how you hate how sensitive everyone is and how everyone just likes to bitch. No, Kristen, you fucking said the N-word. You called your friend a Mexican slur. You posed in a headdress. Now, if you may have remembered, earlier in the video I mentioned that natives tend to sort of classify ourselves in what type of native we are, for lack of better words. There's blood quantum, which I personally do not subscribe to. I don't believe in it. I view blood quantum as an outdated practice that is a tool of colonization that the United States has convinced most native communities to engage in. But there's also a level of connectedness. How much of your culture have you been exposed to? How much of your spirituality do you practice, or how many of your teachings do you know? Do you know your community or anyone from your community? How close are you to your last ancestor who is from your native community? There are several facets to connectedness, that result in someone being connected, disconnected with ancestry, reconnecting, or somewhere in between. And there's different reasons, whether controllable or not controllable, that people fall into these areas. The reason I bring this up is because every time Kristen mentions that she is Blackfeet, she says she is a quarter Blackfeet. The Blackfeet Nation requires a blood quantum to be enrolled, and that blood quantum is a quarter. So, why aren't you enrolled, Kristen? Is any of your family enrolled? You all meet the minimum requirements. Now, people have varying opinions on what blood quantums qualify as a lot or a little, but we're talking about someone who is phenotypically very white and doesn't seem to know how she is Blackfeet or anyone or anything from the Blackfeet Nation. A quarter Blackfeet, no matter what you think about what a quarter means, a quarter Blackfeet is a pretty substantial blood quantum for not having a clue. Besides her being eligible for Blackfeet enrollment, I don't know if all of you know how blood quantum works. If you're a quarter, then that means one of your parents is half, which means one of your grandparents is full. But somehow we're lost on who the Blackfeet ancestor is. Now, I get that a lot of people don't know their grandparents, but I'm sure her parent knows their parent. Granted, there are circumstances where people are adopted, but she posted her grandpa to her Instagram saying, "First Thanksgiving without you." So I'm assuming even she knows her grandparents. But again, that could be a grandpa from the white set, and she doesn't know the Blackfeet set. That I can't make out. But I did find a Guru Gossip post saying that, quote unquote, her mom and her are still insisting they're Native American and Mexican, unquote. So now her mom is half Native American and she's Mexican. But what kind of Mexican? Because Mexican is a nationality. Mexico is a country made up of different races and ethnicities, but it's okay. I didn't think you'd know that, Kristen. It's okay. Anyway, this woman here, this is your half Blackfoot Mexican, ladies and gentlemen. Barely a lick of white in this woman. But I get it. Looks, they don't count. I mean, my blood quantum lies somewhere around the half mark, and I'm not exactly getting "you're Native American, right?" comments on the street. Those comments aren't coming to me. But I can say that I know my shit about who I am and where I come from. There's no way to be half Native and not know how your family tree got that way. Unless you were scooped as a kid, and forgive me if I'm wrong, I don't think that's the case here. I think these people were genuine, grade A pretendians who had no clue what it means to be a quarter Blackfoot or a quarter anything. And this isn't only my suspicion. Your girl fucking confirmed it. In 2017, Kristen uploaded a vlog called "I'm Almost 80% of What Ethnicity?" And
so yeah, I'm almost like 80% British and Irish, and the rest of me was like Northwestern European or something like that. So pretty insane. I guess I have no Native American in me like I was told my whole life. That's crazy. Who else has done the 23andMe? What are you guys? Leave it in the comments below.
So, let's talk about this real quick. First thing, again, a quarter is a substantial blood quantum to not know what your native roots are. But here you are taking a DNA test. You seem very sure of yourself. Second, she's not native. Now, I've said before that DNA tests aren't reliable and cannot really tell you that you're native, let alone what tribe. I explained how they work in my blood quantum video, but essentially, they don't really trace your DNA to a race. They trace your DNA to a geographical region. But her regions apparently ain't nowhere close to that the Western Indigenous North America. I'm trying so hard to hold back the laughter. Okay. But lastly, this vlog was 3 years ago. I don't know if she's continued to claim indigeneity after this, but what I do know is she announced this in some bullshit vlog and was like, oh, whoopsie, guess I'm not native. It's been brought to her attention that her behavior was anti-indigenous, and not once has she thought that she should do more than upload a stupid vlog to address that. She uploaded a video addressing the claims of her abusing animals, but this just gets a whoopsie. Guess you guys were right after all. In addition, why is your so-called native content still available? The headdress photo, the teepee photo, you mocking a visibly native woman and allowing someone to refer to her as a squat, those are still available. There are pieces of you scattered throughout the internet that are now misinformation about you, and you're okay with that? You're okay with that blog of you saying you're native being out there, knowing it's not true, and you haven't put anything out to counter and correct that. Like, there's no guarantee that the same people who find pieces of you saying you're Blackfeet Indian are also going to find your video of you admitting that you are actually a pretendian fraud, but at least do something to correct this misinformation. Apologize to the people that you've dismissed over the years who have tried to educate you, and apologize to the Blackfeet community and the Native communities at large. But no, it's just a whoopsie. Well, I just happened to stumble and fall and make this video. Whoopsie.